Hello everyone. It's a very strange time because it seems like we might be opening up soon, so I'm probably going to drop the Corona Bloody Virus Extraordinary Episodes tag to the beginning of the Light on Leeds episodes. And if I have to take it back in a few months, then that's what I'll have to do. But everybody keep your fingers crossed that we won't have to do that. This week's guest is Jeremy Morton, who is the editor of South Leeds Live. It's a community news channel. They have a website. They publish an article every single day. And they're also in print. It was fantastic speaking to Jeremy about how he started it all, what the ethos is behind the paper. And I think you'll really enjoy hearing what he's got to say. Have a listen. On this episode, I have Jeremy Morton, who has remotely connected to speak to me. Hello, Jeremy.
Hi, Hazel.
Jeremy, you are the editor for South Leeds Life. Can you tell everybody a little bit about what South Leeds Life is?
So South Leeds Life is a community news channel. I think that's what we're calling it at the moment. We have a website and we publish articles every day on that. And we have a monthly newspaper, print newspaper, which is distributed free across the LS10 and LS11 postcodes.
And how did you get involved with it in the first place?
This was back in 2010, and I came across a phenomenon called hyperlocal blogging. And various people up and down the country, particularly in more deprived neighbourhoods or what the Americans call news deserts, where there wasn't proper coverage of what was going on. People were starting up blogs to tell their stories, really. And I thought, what a great idea. I'll start one. And I called it Best of Beeston, and no one read it. And I did it all on my own, and it was a bit of a disaster. But I don't know if people remember Guardian Local, which was a sort of an experimental news blog that the Guardian set up with John Barron was the local reporter for Leeds. They did it in 3 cities, I think. And part of his remit was to encourage blogging. And he held a workshop in South Leeds, and there were about 10 of us in the room. And we were all sort of, blogging was the new thing. And lots of people have been told by their managers, our organisation needs a blog, go and find out what one is and how to do it. And we had this conversation, and I mentioned what I'd been trying to do. And we said, well, why don't we club together and start a new blog rather than writing stuff on our own organisation's websites that no one will ever read? And maybe we can build up an audience and anyway, so that's what we did, and we called it South Leeds Life. And it started very slowly, but eventually built up an audience. And bizarrely, going into print was the best thing we ever did, even though financially it was far more expensive than running a website.
Do you think that's because people still like to have a physical copy of the news? And I suppose partly some of it is even now lots of people aren't online.
It's exactly that. And what we knew at the start was, well, we knew lots of people weren't online in South Leeds, particularly older people. We also knew from the industry that selling advertising in print, you can charge a much higher price than you can for selling advertising online. Mm-hmm. And so we thought, well, we'll sell advertising, and that'll cover the costs, and people will love the fact that we're available. That didn't really work because we're not very good at selling advertising. But what we found was that we basically got a small grant which enabled us to put out about 4 editions.
Right.
And we said, okay, well, let's go with that. Let's try and sell advertising and see where we get to. We sold a little bit of advertising. We didn't pay the editor, and we managed to keep going So some months in, someone on the board had the genius idea of telling the readers about our financial situation. So we just said very simply, look, we only have enough money in the bank for the next edition, maybe the one after that, at any one time. So, there might be a break in service. We might have to stop publishing either altogether, or we might pause and then come back in a month's time when we've got the money together. And there was just this fantastic reaction from readers who said, no, 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 you can't do that. We like what you're doing. What help do you need? And from that, we set up a sponsorship scheme for organisations to support us financially, and a subscriber scheme for individuals to make a small monthly payment to help support us. And we never stopped publishing. We were able to carry on, and the editor even gets paid a part-time wage, and it's gone really well. But that thing about people wanting a print paper, I think is really important. People say print is dead, and I just don't believe it, because I know people who read us regularly online, but then they'll see the print paper and see an article that they missed online, but it's all there in a sort of compendium or something at the end of the month.
Was that really heartwarming for you then, when you were in that position where you thought you might have to fold for a little bit, to get that feedback from people, and people really putting the money where the mouth is, really?
It was massive, because you don't get a lot of feedback running a newspaper and a news website. You get letters to the editor about issues and what have you, but you're sort of shouting into a void a bit.
I know that feeling.
So to get that feedback was massive. We knew, we're doing something that people want. That's fantastic. We'll keep doing it and double up. I suppose there was maybe a thought, particularly when the money was very thin, was how honestly, how long can we afford to do this without going and getting a proper job? Because it's very time consuming.
Yeah.
But or to do it properly, it is. So that was really special to get that response.
Yeah, I bet it was. And if somebody in another town decided that they wanted to set up their own local newspaper, what advice would you give them?
Go for it. It's going to be difficult. There is a national organisation now of sort of like-minded publishers that we're a part of. So there is advice and support out there to help you do it. I don't know. It's difficult. Every town and community is different. We're lucky in South Leeds that we've got a really vibrant community sector. Lots and lots of community organisations, many of them very well established, and they really connected that. Oh, here's someone who can, or here's a thing that can spread the word about what we're doing and help us reach people that we're not reaching. So they sort of got what we were doing straight away. I've spoken to people who sort of say, well, yeah, we've only got about 3 organisations, and they're very. I try not to be rude on your podcast, but they're not interested, shall we say?
Right.
So that's that. I don't think there's a one size fits all. I suppose that's what I'm saying. So it's knowing your area and playing to whatever strengths your area has.
And how do you find? Are you able to tell what your sort of readership is, and is it different looking at your print figures than looking at your online figures?
Yes and no. I'm very hesitant about sort of I don't know, sort of boasting about our figures. I think our figures are pretty good.
Yeah.
We get around 50,000 page views per month online,
Wow.
which sounds fantastic. But I also look at the individual stories that we print each day or we publish each day, and how many views um, they've had sort of in the day or two after publication, which is when most of them are.
Yeah.
And getting 100 or 200 views is pretty good for an article. There's plenty that don't reach that level. So um, I don't I don't know enough about Google Analytics to understand quite what's going on. I think we come up in an awful lot of searches, and sometimes you'll see things. There's a new young lad who's got a contract as a goalkeeper with Leeds United. He was at Bradford City Academy, and he's from Beeston. And we wrote an article about him last year. And with the interest around that signing this year, he keeps popping up into his story keeps popping up into the statistics.
Oh, so even though it was a year ago.
Yeah, and I don't think people are looking back for that story. I think people have searched his name and found, oh, we've written something about him. What's that? And looked. So I don't know, but yeah, 50,000 page views per month. We'll claim that and say we're successful. The newspaper, we don't sell it, so we don't have hard and fast figures for that. But we print 5,000 copies, and
Yeah.
most of them seem to get picked up when we take, the next month we go around and we distribute them to drop-off points. We don't put them through doors. So when we go round, there might be one or two left from last month, or hopefully there are none left, and we know they've been picked up and read. So we'll claim 5,000, plus the fact that newspapers are often read by more than one person.
Of course, yeah. And how do you cope with, for example, when you post an article online and you might get sort of, should we say, adverse or negative comments? Do you just tend to ignore that?
Well, first of all, comments on our website are pre-moderated. In other words,
Okay.
we read them before we let them loose on the internet. If they're saying this is a really rubbish story, you don't know what you're talking about, fine. If they use foul or abusive language, or racist or other discriminatory language, it doesn't get published. Facebook is much harder. So we publish a link on Facebook to every article we write, and then it has a life of its own on Facebook, and
Of
people
course.
say all sorts of things. And we again, if it's on our own page, and it's discriminatory, etc., we can delete it or make it invisible. But if it's been shared, then someone else is in control of that, and we don't have control over it.
Of course.
But in terms of personally, the abuse and what have you, I think it just goes with the territory. Really, you've got to be fairly thick-skinned about it. I know some people call us South Leeds Lies.
Really?
And other people say, "Oh, you're just a Labour paper," which we're not. But people will think what people think, and you can't do anything about that. You just keep going, and hopefully most people appreciate what we're doing.
I think they obviously do, and I think you're exactly right. I think that once you put something out in the world, you're kind of holding yourself out for some kind of criticism, aren't you?
Yeah.
And how have you found it over the years, sort of keeping going and having, been able to get people to contribute and to be part of, your editorial team? How have you found that? Has that sort of been difficult at times?
At times, it sort of ebbs and flows, and sometimes we forget to put the effort into finding new writers and helping and supporting them. So that's that's literally a conversation we had yesterday. We need to do it again. It's an important part of the project, really. I'm not a journalist by training. I've sort of learnt as I've gone along with this. I suppose, if anything, I'm a community worker, and so a lot of this is a community project, and encouraging people to write their own story is sort of one of our aspirations. We sometimes get it right and sometimes don't, but that's certainly part of our ethos. So we like people to come forward to either literally write their own story. This has happened to me, and this is my experience, or to share their knowledge, to report on other things happening in the community if that's what they'd like to do. And we have in the past run courses, sort of, I wouldn't call them journalism courses, but sort of teaching the basics of reporting, pitfalls to avoid, how to structure a story, how to take a better photograph, things like that. We're hoping to resurrect that again with the help of Slung Low as part of their community college. We were just starting a course as the pandemic hit, so hopefully that'll be rescheduled. But yeah, we'd love people to come forward and say, I want to write for you, and we will support and offer help and assistance that people would like.
And if anybody listening from the South Leeds area wanted to get involved, what is the best way for them to do that?
Drop me an email. Our email address is info@southleedslife.com, and we can pick it up from there. I think we're also looking for board members, which is a slightly different role.
Okay.
If people want to be involved in the running of the organisation as well, but writers are always welcome.
And if somebody wanted to become a board member, what kind of thing does that involve?
So it's like running any organisation. You have to look after the finances. You have to see what direction the organisation's going. You can get involved on the editorial side, but you don't have to. So there's quite a lot on the commercial side in terms of actually managing the whole sponsorship schemes, things like that. So it's those sorts of issues. The time commitment on all these things is as much as you want to put in, but there's a monthly meeting that you'd be expected to attend at the minimum.
And it's a great way for people to get experience, isn't it?
Absolutely. We're a small organisation, but you'll be, as I say, they're the same issues as any organisation faces. So if you can do it with us, you can transfer that to I don't know, being a school governor or being involved in another organisation or company.
Exactly, yeah. Jeremy, have you always lived in Leeds?
Only since 1981.
And what made you end up here?
University.
Ah, you came to university and never left.
Exactly, like so many people.
So that means that you're completely qualified to answer the 3 questions that I ask every guest. The first one being, what would you say is great about the city of Leeds?
So I think it's about the diversity of the city. There are so many different communities, and I don't just mean diversity in terms of sort of ethnic diversity, but the difference between Beeston and Alwoodley, for example.
Yeah.
Or I don't know. But I think that's what makes it's such a buzzing city. There is so much going on and so much to do because there are all these people in all these communities doing their own thing or getting together and doing things jointly, which is even greater. So I think that's the city's strength, really.
Yeah, I totally agree. And if you had to choose something that you think is not so great about the city, what would it be?
It's the inequality. It's the it's the difference in life expectancy from Holbeck to Alwoodley,
Hmm.
um, and all the things that go into that. So poor housing, um, poor air quality, um, poor diet, etc., etc. Um, and that's, I suppose, that's something that I've always hoped that whatever work I was doing through my non-career has been contributing in some way um, to minimising or to overcoming those that inequality.
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, definitely one example that I'm involved with you. I think that it's a great scheme that you have about the, theatre tickets for a review, because I think
Mm,
a lot of people in our area, may think that going to the theatre is either financially out of their reach or sort of culturally out of their reach.
yes.
And I think that, yeah, I think that works really well, and I think it's lovely to offer that.
Yeah, that was. I mean, that came about a bit accidentally, as most things do. So the Playhouse sort of got in touch and said, we're happy to give you press tickets for shows. We'd love you to review stuff. And I'm very protective about my geographical boundary. LS10, LS11 is what we cover, and the
Yeah.
Playhouse is in LS1. Um, and I was explaining this to someone in the pub, and they said, "Don't be so blooming stupid. If you don't want the tickets, give them to your readers." And out of that, I thought, oh yes, of course, and the scheme was born. And yeah, it's been successful. I think we've hit more people who possibly can't afford at the moment to go to the theatre, but appreciate the theatre. I don't think we've hit many people who have never been and would really. So it would be a completely new experience, and I'd love to reach those people, but that's really difficult because as soon as you say the word theatre, people think, "Oh, that's not for me."
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? Because it's kind of seen as something, it can be seen as something kind of elitist. And I think one of the barriers is, if you've never been to anywhere like that, you worry about what you should wear, how you should act, what's it going to be like when you get in there. And like you say, I don't know how you can help people overcome that.
Yeah, I think it's very difficult. I think possibly the work Slung Low are doing in Holbeck is helping
Yeah,
because they're running a working men's club. Um, People know what a club is, and many people locally have been going there for years. So it's not such a big barrier to go up to the concert room and instead of seeing a turn, seeing I don't know, Opera North doing a mini opera and stuff. So I think that helps. But you're right, going to the theatres in town, there's just these invisible barriers. And I think the Playhouse, to their credit, are aware of that and do try and get out to the community more. But I think many arts organisations don't really get it.
yeah. And I suppose in some ways they don't have to, because as long as they're making money and they're turning over, they don't really have to
Exactly.
think about that. But I feel like in Leeds, there does seem to be a lot of work done about getting culture out to as many people as possible.
Yeah, I
And
think.
obviously, you and I spoke to the organisers of Leeds 2023, and I really felt like what came out of that interview was that they definitely were thinking like that and making sure that, everything spreads out to all different areas of Leeds, of which there are many.
Yes, that was a really positive conversation, wasn't it? And I
Yeah.
think hopefully that that whole event and that year of culture will um, break down some barriers or open some people's eyes or whatever the right phrase is, and make a difference. I'm really excited about what's coming.
Yeah, me too. It's definitely great to have something to look forward to, especially in this particular time.
Yes.
And if somebody had lived in Leeds for a very long time, Jeremy, would you be able to tell them something that you would consider to be a hidden gem that they might not ever have heard of?
Well, this is very difficult, isn't it?
Mm.
But the hidden gem I'm going for is the boundary dike between Middleton and Beeston, um, which I don't know. Maybe I don't know how many people know the story or not.
I don't know the
There,
story.
there is there is a plaque in Middleton Woods now. Um, but basically, I mean, so this is a medieval story. It goes way back. But the idea that there were people from Beeston and Middleton were fighting in lumps back in, I don't know, the 1200s or what have you,
Yeah,
and still are, is just, it's one of those important threads of history somehow. And so it was, so the Middleton Woods were there. Middleton Woods are ancient. Um, and foraging, I don't know, for firewood and stuff. There was probably even some surface coal being gathered, I don't know, and probably hunting deer and what have you would be going on. So
yeah,
both villages saw it as their wood to go and take from,
yeah.
and it would break out into violence. Anyway, the dispute ended up with the king. I forget which one it
Really?
was. Yeah, and he sent the Knights Templar
Oh
uh,
my goodness.
to Middleton Woods, to Miggy Woods, to sort out this dispute, and they drew a line in the woods and instructed a dike to be built, and that was the boundary. That became the boundary between Middleton and Beeston, and there are still signs of it. It's just off the tramway if you know
Yeah,
where to look. And I just think that's rather wonderful.
it really is wonderful. I can't believe the king got involved.
Exactly.
And just the thought of the Knights Templar coming to Middleton Woods is pretty special.
Well, yeah, I can't remember what else they did, but they sort of did crusades and things, didn't they? And did
Yeah,
they run Malta and stuff?
yeah.
I'm not sure, but yeah,
That's a fabulous story. And what will you be doing with the rest of your day today, Jeremy?
I'll be working on South Leeds Life. We've got today's stories to finish up and get published, and we're starting work on the August edition of the newspaper, which will have an awful lot have a focus on family activities for the summer holidays. So there's a lot of ringing round to do to find out what is going ahead and what isn't going ahead.
Yeah, of course, because it's all very much up in the air, isn't it?
Exactly.
Mm.
But it's all good stuff. So yeah, be doing that, and then having some tea in the garden, hopefully later.
Well, that sounds perfect 'cause it's such a beautiful day.
It is.
Well, thank you so very much for coming along to talk to me, Jeremy, and best of luck with everything.
Thank you very much, Hazel.
It was great to catch up with Jeremy and find out how he began South Leeds Life. If you want to get involved, as usual, there will be all of the links in the podcast notes. This week, I had a lovely young person called PG Carlietta. His name's actually Phil, but he performs as PG Carlietta. Andy Wilson from one of my previous episodes actually got him to get in touch with me and send along a song. He's from Kirkcaldy. He writes and performs gorgeous songs, and this one is no different. It's called Chancer, and I think that you're going to love it. Have a listen and see what you think.
What's happening in this great city? We'll tell you. Wait a minute.
You think you pull the world over people's eyes. You're blind drunk and you're really 45 steps behind. You tell people that we got it wrong. Well, guess what? Time's up and your life's vastly on decline. Cause you know can't walk up for you to show. Cause you know can't walk up for you. Cause you know can't walk up for you to show. Cause you know can't walk up for you. When you run out of luck, think you wanna be a full-time chancer. You're grafting bots, talking shite, trying to get yourself alright. Fuck knows what goes through your head. Who gives a fuck, cause it works, you're chucking what's out of your bed. Cause you know can't walk up for you to show. Cause you know can't walk up for you. Cause you know can't walk up for you to show. Cause you know can't walk up for you. When you run out of luck, you think you pull the world over people's eyes. You're plain drunk and you're really 45 steps behind. You tell people that you got it wrong. Well, guess what? You fucked it up and you gotta hide it outside. Cause you know can't walk up for you to show. Cause you know can't walk up for you. Cause you know can't walk up for you to show. Cause you know can't walk up for you. If you don't shut up,